Alright, video response to Luddite Returns. I don't know if this is the video he's promising, so I don't know whether it'll be on the subject either. Probably won't be. It's just going to be 10 minutes of convoluted, winkety-wankety, bankety bullshit about how somehow I don't have credibility, or I'm not allowed to make the argument because I'm not using the secret code lingo. Somehow I don't understand their big, bold concepts, because they, they can't talk in terms of anything called reality, which is 4 billion years ago, a molecule on planet Earth acquired the capacity to replicate itself. And through 4 billion years of evolution, in the oceans it evolved into a brilliant thing called the great white shark. And on land it developed 100,000 years or so ago into a little conniving, manipulative weasel ape, who decided to become a carnivore, even though it wasn't one, because it figured out how to make food tasty, animal flesh tasty, by cooking it, and has now just aggrandized itself into some sort of spectacular and necessary function of the universe, even though the non-existent Martians and the non-existent Saturnites and Plutonians and Moonikins and Mercuryrites, nobody misses them. Nobody thinks the universe is void and unfulfilled and unsatisfied and deprecated in some horrid way because of their absence, but somehow we're necessary. And we're so necessary that you can go ahead and torture billions of people a year in squalor and impose tremendous horrors on children, growing them up in preposterously ignorant and dull and unenriched environments, because it's all worth it. Because why? They don't provide that part, so I can't give you the answer to the final page of their fairy tale. They don't write the final page, so I don't have anything for you. They don't have the complete duplicity to say something like, and they lived all happily ever after. They don't have the duplicity to say that, but yeah, they don't have an answer. They don't have a justification beyond, well, nature made it happen, so I'm going to just do what nature tells me. And I can't figure out that having a pencil in my eye is different than not having a pencil in my eye. I can't tell the difference. In the absolute sense, no, I can't figure it out. It's too mysterious, too intangible a notion. I can't figure out this idea of bad feelings having anything to do with some idea of value. And so, if I step on an animal and it screams in horror and its guts plop out of its mouth, I don't think anything really bad has happened. It's not a big deal. It's squirming and its legs are wiggling and shit, but it's not a big deal. Its little eyes are going, ah! But I don't think anything really important is happening because I'm stupid and I can't figure that out. It's too mysterious. It's too vaporous. It's out of the material realm. I can't figure out that feelings are real and they're happening to things. And no, I just pretend they're not, as long as they're not my feelings. As long as they're not my feelings, they don't matter. They're out there in the vapor of the non-existentness. They're out floating in the non-existentness. Because they're not my feelings. So anyway, that's the premise. So I just explained to you basically a little simple satirical explanation of, that life is kind of crude. It's just a bug planet. Our whole psychology, everything about us was built by evolution, a gladiator war. We're a toolkit of basically very malicious weapons, and the only thing that tempers our malicious weapons, the only thing that changes us into something a little better than a great white shark, is the fact that we happen to be lucky enough to maturate in social groups. And to bind those social groups together, there had to be some kind of decency built into us, some sense of love and caring, because our molecule was collectivist. And so there's a little bit of that hive generosity built into us. But that's it. And if it wasn't for that simple fact, if we were like other organisms, just eggs laid and hatched, we'd just be the most insidious, malicious monsters. And that's it. But anyway, I mean, I'm just trying to, that's the reality of this game we're playing. And you assholes want to glorify it and paint it yellow and put little smiley faces on it and all that bullshit. Well, go ahead, but I know what you're doing. You're cheating, okay? You're putting lipstick on a pig and then fucking it and calling yourself a real ladies' man. And that's all you're doing, is lying. And you're doing it at the price of all the suffering that will be imposed because of these lies. So you fucking suck. And I'm just telling you, I know you suck. I see your suck. So you're not fooling me anyway. Maybe you can fool all these other assholes, and you can lie to each other and rub each other's anuses the right way and get away with it. But you ain't fooling me, fuckers. So anyway, on with the incomprehensible jibber-jabber.
Insofar as the masses are informed by a proclivity for philosophic coprophagia, antinatalism is bound for success.
The masses, coprophagia. So we're bound for success. Great. Fantastic. Obviously, the masses, again, this argument goes to who's having children now. And who's having children now isn't the masses. The masses are not having children. So again, this is about whether or not the masses will either ever grow enough balls to say, maybe we shouldn't let the dumbest fucks in the world decide the fate of the human race. Maybe the people with a little bit of brains and a little bit of sensitivity and a little bit of understanding who don't believe in religious, idiotic nonsense and bibble-babble, maybe at some point they're going to have to say, maybe it's time for me to drive the car, okay, and quit pretending that the idiots and morons know what they're doing. Because it's the idiot and morons who are breeding. Idiot. That's the future you're sentencing kids to. Okay? You're going to keep being born in a world to dumber and dumber parents. That's what you're sentencing kids to, asshole.
Ironically, relative to the Malthusian threat, it may prove that antinatalism serves as the very messiah of survival it would seek to destroy.
Yeah, well, whatever. The idea of what? Population control would somehow save us from doom? Now, there's about 7 million doom guns pointed at the head of the human race. Okay? Excess population's only one of the guns. The other guns are using violence to solve problems. The other gun is delusionary wishful thinking. There's all kinds of guns pointed at the human race's head. And you're sentencing some generation of children to face the gun. Why? For what reason? Oh, that's right, because you want to. Because you want to. No other reason. You want something. And you're just going to take it. Because you want it. And you don't care that somebody else has to pay the price for it. You're just saying, fuck you, I don't care. I get what I want. You don't get what you want. Too bad. You get the gun to the head. Too bad. So fuck you. You suck.
How deep the well of tragedy. Virtual reality is no solution to the problem of human suffering, as man is a dystopic being. Set up a crystal palace only to be shattered no sooner than a fruit is declared forbidden as it eaten.
Yeah, whatever. So he's saying that somehow he's making some sort of Matrix argument. We know why the Matrix said humans rejected the program. That was because they needed to make a movie, so they needed a plot. And so they contrived a plot, okay, because they knew they couldn't make the movie if the Matrix kicked ass. But the fact is everything you're doing right the fuck now, silly pants, you could choose that program in the Matrix. You could choose to be a stupid-looking, mundane, turdy-faced, rat shit-talking, high vocabulary shit-talker. Okay, you could press that button in virtual reality. I want to be a big vocabulary shit-talker. And you could hit that button and be that twat. Alright? And your farts could still smell and you could still be an asswipe. Alright? And that could be your choice. So again, you know, if you're going to say virtual reality fails, you might as well say your life fails. Because it could duplicate your stupid, silly existence. It could put every little blade of grass in your front stinking lawn right there in the ground for you. And you could go out there and you could pull out your dandelions and do whatever the fuck else you do with your time. Exactly as you're doing it right now. You know, you're opposed to it because, yes, it's not consistent with your fairy tale that the universe knows what it's doing. It's an offense to the universe. You're just another God botherer. And it's a violation of God's will to control the environment of human consciousness, to optimize the experience of consciousness. You'd rather be a shit eater. You're just a poo eater. You're a dog who eats poo, and you're somehow wanting to force the rest of the dogs to be poo eaters. Sick fuck.
And perhaps what might be described as the insidious perversity of mankind will forever preclude any utopia of non-being or otherwise from the realm of possibility, namely, and Cicero and Dostoevsky understood this.
Oh, fuck. I didn't think you would have to go there. I mean, it would have been nice if you just finished that point and just explained to us exactly, you know, what you think the doom scenarios are and why you think there's any point in investing in the human race and what you think exactly it would do if you could control those mechanisms. If you could take away the asteroid, and you could take away the sun, and you could take away all these mechanical things that might destroy us, and all these environmental problems, and you could even take away some of the human psychology problems, why don't you describe your utopia to me? Explain it to me, how the human beings wouldn't have all these relationship problems. They wouldn't fight over women or fight over beachfront property, or wouldn't fight because some asshole walks their dog and it shits in their yard. Just you could explain to me exactly what your utopia would exactly seem like, or what your survivable human life, your worthwhile human existence is. Just so everybody knows exactly what you would sentence them to live, one of your mundane, turdy, idiotic fucking lives. Like I'd want to spend 10 minutes in your putrid, boring skin.
Truth, that in the absence of suffering, man is suffering. But more concretely, recognizing that there is no direct link between intelligence and benevolence, in agreement with a former philosophy professor who contended that if you take a demon and educate it, you then have an educated demon.
Well, I think that's just so idiotic. So again, is this something you people really don't get? He just said that you can have something called intelligence, and I mean real intelligence, and yet still be a demon. That there wouldn't be something about intelligence that would make you aware of the fact that sentient things feel, that feeling bad really sucks, and that somehow the demon, when he's intelligent and smart and knows that suffering is nasty business, would somehow, and the demon also knows that every petty emotion of hate and resentment and theft, doing anything unfair, would be nasty. So here the demon has full knowledge of fairness, full knowledge, understanding of a fair fight, and doing the right thing, and being equitable, and being honorable. He has full knowledge of all those concepts, and yet the demon doesn't understand them enough to act on them? How is it possible to have knowledge of something and then ignore it? Is that possible? Is it really possible for you to be reclamated by knowledge and understanding? To understand that you're actually hurting something when you thought you were helping it in a situation? That somehow that knowledge wouldn't change your behavior? I mean, do you understand? I mean, this is the kind of nonsense these people think is the reality. They think that intelligence is exactly that. It's just intelligence about how to cheat, how to manipulate, and that intelligence has nothing to do with understanding something like its pain serves no purpose. It would be stupid to impose unnecessary, useless, unproductive anguish or work on anything. that somehow something intelligent could possibly be called intelligent and not know that friction was a bad thing. Friction, like in the kind of wasted work idea. That these concepts would now still be elusive, even though now you've declared the thing intelligent. Yeah, right. We know that's not possible. So their cliches are not only obnoxious in terms of simplistic jargon, they're fundamentally inaccurate as examples of reality, as kernels of reality, as pieces of reality. No, intelligence is automatically reclamating. You can't possibly remain an asshole if you're intelligent.
I personally would rather be subjected to the risks of existence of the physical order than reality as defined completely under the auspices of human intelligence and will.
Well, there you go. So he'd rather be raped, by a passionate, selfish fuck acting on impulse than to be cured of a disease by something intelligent enough to reorganize matter to affect him in a positive way. He does the idea of being controlled by an intelligence that imposes. Whatever. Idiot.
Imagine a cyber Hitler able to hack the safeguards of the virtual matrix.
Right, so we're back to this hacking shit. Like somebody's gonna, hack in to the matrix to what? Steal everybody's non-existent money. I mean, Hitler was about the money. You do know that, right? Yeah, you do know that, right? Man, you really are stupid.
The phenomenological passage of time might be slowed to a subjective eternity. Death as a gift forever precluded, and manifestations of suffering and intensity and scale as can hardly be conceptualized brought to fruition.
Whatever. Fear-mongering much. Yeah. Whatever. I mean, really. So do that about every bit of progress. They're going to eradicate smallpox. At least they can't do that. Smallpox might cure cancer. Yeah, fuck you.
I find the antinatalist selective risk averseness strange. It never seems applied to antinatalism itself as regards.
Risk averseness strange. And so again, this accusation that somehow things are inconsistently applied or unevenly applied is this blanket accusation of hypocrisy or duplicity. Not a fact will be provided. Not a quote will be provided. So it's just this slandering, lying weasels. No courage, no balls, nothing. They don't have the balls to play one of these videos and deal with the direct statements defending ourselves from their lies. So lie some more, weasel man.
Its application in any societally or civilizationally relevant manner. Postmodernism was famously characterized as incredulity towards meta-narratives, and in the way not only of philosophic pretenses, the capital T truth, but as applicable to the realm of human action. This is an understandable sentiment. Philosophy, moral theorizing.
Wow, who cares? What does this have to do with me? Oh, that's right, absolutely nothing. That's right. Oh, gee, what a surprise. He's, talking about, whatever, piles of horse shit. And, just incidentally, this is the subject of Inmendham. So I just talk about pedophiles, and how will that be? Pedophiles often have, little mustaches. I don't know whether people have noticed that, but they often have mustaches. So clearly, it's a postmodern mustache pedophile guy, right? I mean, this is what pedophiles look like today. I mean, receding hairline, mustaches, glasses. Those are probably 70-75% correlations, with all pedophiles. So, yeah, he's a pedophile, no doubt about it, right?
It seems historically verified, are not immune to the forces of devolution and entropy. And as meta-narratives are prone to collapse into ideology.
Yeah, well, whatever. So he's using words like entropy and all this other stuff about ideas and philosophies and all this other stuff. I mean, he's completely confusing, material physics, laws of physics, with this other stuff. And you can do that for metaphor, but he's doing it explicitly. I mean, I've used things like value gravity, to imply that there's value and it's given this weight by a kind of gravity. So that's a metaphor. But he's using it as an analogy. He's trying to state that somehow ideas are entropic. Sorry, not true.
Ideology. And as ideologues identify existentially with their ideology, philosophic zealotism and negation are interpreted as an existential threat. So fuck you, Inmendham, when you call me a psychopath enabler per the contention of axiology.
Well, I think you're not only an enabler of psychopaths, I think you are actually probably a psychopath. I think you are a malicious, selfish sack of shit, self-justifying your own probably great debaucherous, evil lifestyle that you've existed in. You probably are some kind of hideous, monstrous piece of crap, because why would you defend this freedom to make up your own truth bullshit? Yeah, that's right. So you suck. That's right. And you're evil and you're just a useless sack of shit.
Logic and moral nihilism. Would-be ascensions to objective moral truth have proven far more consequentially disastrous than moral nihilism.
Well, right. Prove it. Okay? I'd say this is more of this crap that somehow I have to take responsibility, not for the fact that there's some kind of philosophy where you actually say that I think it's the truth that suffering matters. He's saying that now because I said that, I have to account for every religious kook who's ever done something kooky. That's his argument. Because I dare to say, I think it's an absolute motherfucking fact, okay, that my existence, the universe, has more negative quanta in it. If I stick a pencil in my eye right now, if I take this fucking screwdriver and stick it in my eye right now, I claim that the universe will have more negative energy released into it. There will be a more cost to the existence of life on Earth will be incurred, because I will then be in horrific suffering, nasty, awful pain. And that pain will not be a nothing, it will be a something, a value something. Now, because I say my pain, or his pain, or anybody's pain, is a value something, he's claiming I must take responsibility and account for the Crusades, or Muslims blowing up the Twin Towers, or anything else, some kind of religious kook has done something, I somehow now have to account for it, because I said pain is real. That's the cunt he is.
It's the megalothumonic true believer, the ideologue, that would mandate sterilization, robbing persons of their bodily autonomy, and declare that crap.
Bodily autonomy, again. So because nature gave me a penis, I should have a right to rape. Because nature gave me a fist, I should have the autonomy to fucking shove it in anybody's face I want to. Merely because I'm physically capable of doing something, I should have the right to do it. And we know that's bullshit. And the fact that we are physically capable of having children does not mean that we have the competence to have children. And the fact that somebody would apply a standard for some behavior that is so important, so significantly implicating to the welfare of a sentient being, it's somehow we're not allowed to say they're not allowed to do that. Because somebody can physically rape dogs, we should make it legal to rape dogs. No, I don't think so.
Packing a few eggs, or threaten to wipe out entire civilizations if they dare not embrace the supposed objective moral truth of anti-natalism.
Well, look, we dropped nuclear bombs, asshole. I mean, wipe out whole civilizations. We wiped out there's no real American Indians left. So that's just more jargon, isn't it? They couldn't even find enough of an Egyptian, after the Crusades. They couldn't even find enough of an Egyptian to be able to read hieroglyphics. They so wiped that culture off the face of the earth. But whatever. Look, the bottom line is you're going to take the argument that's been made that, look, this is the way it gets played out. If you can't obey the law, then there's a point where you just say it's 3 strikes and you're out. And you don't buy that. You think we should just keep giving the criminal another chance to commit the crime. We should just keep giving him more room, more freedom. We should just give him more victims to victimize. And you're saying it's irrational to draw a line somewhere and to say if you cross this final line, that's when the trap comes down and we're done fucking with you. And because we dare to say that, again, we've committed a crime. We're Hitler, we're Mussolini, we're Pow Pow Chung Chung Poo.
Or as my Misery and Me postulated, proposing infanticide in a future anti-natalist society where mandated sterilization or abortion is not obtained. Or a state as Universe Destroyer has that he looks forward to when natalists are given the death penalty.
Right, so I could just talk about every nihilist, okay? Well, Ted Bundy said, and the other crazy, all the other psychotic killers. So we just quote serial killers who are all nihilist motherfuckers who thought they should just do whatever they feel like it because it doesn't matter. Their victims aren't real. They don't have anything like there's no real problem with morality because there's no such thing as a real value. So fuck you. You're not going to win that argument. If I start quoting all the nihilists, you're not going to look too good, fucker.
So fuck this psychopath enabler shit. So Inmendham.
Yeah, well, it's a reality, jackass. So again, you just don't want to take any responsibility for what you're fucking opening the door to. You're saying, go ahead, harm another generation of kids. Give birth to them in poverty. Go ahead, abuse the fuck out of their brains. Indoctrinate them in your sick, stupid religions. Nail them to your poverty. Impose blindness on them by not feeding them properly. Go ahead, you have license because you have some natural autonomy. Fuck you.
And relative to the propositional import of statements of value as a property, states that he can testify to his experience. Quote, this perception that I have that this suffering thing matters is just as rock solid as every other single thing in my consciousness.
Right. So just understand, I'm making the bold statement that, I can tell there's a dramatic difference. I mean, a zillion parsec difference between me with a screwdriver in my eye and me without a screwdriver in my eye. The difference between those two states in my consciousness, I am certain that that's a colossal difference, a significant difference. A meaningful difference. I'm so certain of the meaningful difference between those two states of being. I'm as certain of that as I am certain that snow's cold or rain is wet or, fucking is fun.
It's that strong. It's as solid as my belief in the ground underneath my feet and the sky above my head. Inmendham, you could take 5 minutes of your time reflecting on the nature of epistemological justification and see the problematic nature of evidentialist theories of epistemic normativity.
Oh, so there's some sort of problem with evidence. Oh my God. And the problem would be what? There's some problem. They're going to prove the earth is really flat? No, I don't think that's going to happen.
When you understand that ontological realism coupled with sense perception is only married, as it were, via the self-referentiality of sense perception, as Marx said, all that is solid melts into air.
Okay, all that is solid melts into air. Yet we have rocks on this planet that are 4 or 5 billion years old. They haven't melted. Why haven't they melted? How come? How come all the 4 billion year old rocks haven't melted into air? Didn't Marx say it was going to happen? How come it didn't happen? This is a flaw in your theory. Fuck ass.
Skepticism relative to the epistemological justification of sense perception realism can be translated via the inference rule of modus ponens.
Oh, whatever. Again, you're just going to keep playing games pretending that we can't know that OJ cut his wife's head off. That it's some fucking goddamn reasonable theory that it was some other guy. It was a garbage man with size 14 Bruno Mollies that just decided he needed some more garbage to put in the garbage can, so he figured, well, I'll cut her head off and put it in the garbage. Is that your theory, fuck ass? Oh, that's right, you're just a stupid idiot. Let's come up with some kind of nursery rhyme, silly, preposterous, fantasy, contesting argument to the fact that, no, the fucking goddamn sun is made of hydrogen, the goddamn earth is revolving around the sun, there's goddamn other planets, it's billions of years old, we evolved from goddamn one molecule that replicated on this planet. Let's just fuck all of that stuff and pretend. No, that's rock solid fact. You want to just keep pretending there are no facts? Well, that's just because you're a weasel. An escapist weasel. You want an excuse to believe in nonsense, and the only way you can do it is to destroy the truth. You evil little turd.
Modus ponens, if P then Q, P therefore Q. For example, if I don't know that I'm a brain in a vat, then I don't know that the ground beneath me exists. I don't know that I'm a brain in the vat. Therefore,
right. Is there any reasonable evidence? Is there any evidence whatsoever, any evidence whatsoever of brain in the vat? No. Not one single shred of evidence, but the fact that you made up the notion of it. So anything you can make up a notion of it, you can then discount reality because you can make up a story. Just make it up, and therefore you've destroyed the truth. With just nothing. Just make up anything. It doesn't matter how preposterous it is. It's goddamn reality. Okay, I'm living in Whoville. Okay, on a piece of dust in Whoville. Okay, and Hoobieville. Yeah, and the on the horn that the Hoobie guy is blowing, so Horton will hear the whoos. Is that what I'm supposed to believe now? Because you made it, because I can make it up? That's the truth now? That's a viable theory of reality? A made up piece of shit? And we'll just ignore all the 4 billion year old rocks on the planet and everything else, and we'll just pretend we're brains in a vat. Right. Fuck you.
For I don't know that the ground beneath me exists. So fuck your reasonable doubt regarding the ontology of that.
Oh yeah, fuck reasonable doubt. What a horrible standard is to be reasonable. I mean, I really wish we could just go to war. I really wish we could just put on our uniforms. I don't care what color they are. And let's just get this done, because this is useless to have to fucking sit on this planet with assholes as fucking idiotic and stupid as you. You're gonna fucking piss on the truth with this kind of tripe? I can make up a fairy tale. It doesn't even have to be reasonably feasible. It doesn't have to have one shred of evidence, and yet I'll use that to diminish reality? Fuck you.
Of value. You're philosophically inept, Inmendham. Amusing, not much else.
Well, you're not even, yeah, so what? You're really fine. I'm glad that you are unimpressed, because I can't even put into words. I mean, you could at least articulate the words of it. I can't even put into words how fucking much contempt I have for you. I would rather sleep with a piece of dog shit than shake your fucking hand.
What's more laughable is that you seem to think that your phenomenal experience is a proper ontological guide to persons external to yourself.
Well, I think I'm an example of a human fucking being, and I don't have any magical notions that I'm doing something they're not doing, asshole. I have absolutely, again, not one shred of evidence indicating that what my brain's doing is different than what anybody else's brain is doing. The commonness of the feelings, the descriptions, the words seem to me to be pretty much consistent. I don't have any evidence that I'm a UFO or a Martian or any other kind of bullshit. So yeah, gee, it is kind of informative, I guess. That's right. Being a human makes it possible for me to know what it's like to be human. Yeah. Duh. Fuck.
I don't give a fuck, and epistemically nor should I, what manifests itself non-ghost-like to your consciousness.
Well, again, that's like saying that you don't think it's informative on the subject of sentience to be sentient. I mean, really. Like somehow we could know what it's like to have a conversation about what it is to be a feeling creature if we never had a feeling. No, I think it's very informative that we are feeling creatures with intelligence. That means we can understand what it is to feel. So that's pretty fucking goddamn important.
Theists say the exact same thing you have about suffering transprospectively mattering about God.
Show me the theists. Go ahead. Back that up with something. Theists caring about suffering? No, theists don't give a fuck about any of that crap. Okay, all they care about is God says so.
Am I to assume their testimony to their experience of God has non-self-relevant epistemological import?
So now he's comparing people who say they talk to God, okay, people who say they're communicating with God, who feel God's connection or seeing UFOs or some other kind of thing, with my simple statement that I am experiencing consciousness and I know that having a pencil in my eye is a billion parsecs different of value than not having a pencil in my eye. He's saying that's as bizarre as God emotional orgasms or something. He's saying that knowledge that I know from personal experience that having a pencil in my eye would absolutely suck, that somehow that's the same as me saying I see a UFO out my window and there's aliens coming down to my front door and yeah, they're going to give me an anal probe. So that stuff is the same as saying I know having a pencil in my eye sucks. Huh. Okay, whatever.
Now, relative to epistemological nihilism, Terence Cuno has highlighted that if we deny the license-providing notion of epistemological justification coupled with truth status, then a fortiori one would have no reason to accept epistemological nihilism. In other words, no warrant can be proffered for its acceptance. And this is an acutely relevant criticism. It pushes the boundaries of theories of causation regarding belief-forming mechanisms, our understanding of rational inference, and importedly human action.
Yeah, whatever. Again, so this all makes sense to you, right? All this convoluted bibble-babble over the simple theory, okay, that human beings and other sentient animals have qualitative feelings, feelings that can be dramatically different on a scale of bad and, a lot less bad. That theory of a fact, that's a fact that we have these feelings, and the statement that means something, that it means something when 7 billion people suffer in a Holocaust in concentration camps, that means something. That theory is so fucking bizarre, so fucking insane, that we need to have all this convoluted conversation about ways to somehow establish that that's a reasonable theory. Even though you don't have a single, solitary, reasonable argument explaining how it's not reasonable. You don't have one single, rational, evidentiary argument to make explaining how it could possibly be possible that having a fucking goddamn screwdriver in my eye is actually more pleasurable and great and fantastic than not having a screwdriver in my eye.
And we see here a manifestly obvious disconnect in Inmendham's philosophy, as it were. Inmendham maintains the epiphenomenomenal nature of consciousness. In other words, he asserts the causal closure of the physical. This can be expressed in the proposition,
I don't do any of that, so that's just disgusting to accuse me of that kind of crap. Well, whatever. What are you saying? Yeah, I say we're conscious, that we have a material brain, and it creates a phenomenon that we have called the illusion of our consciousness. I've described it as a theater of the mind.
Mental events are metaphysically necessitated by physical events. Such being the case, quite literally, no one believes per propositional content. Reasons are causally inert as belief-forming mechanisms.
So this is some argument against determinism now. So what, you're going to make a free will video in the middle of this video? I think that's just kind of bogus. Why don't you stay on one subject at a time? But yeah, quite logically, I would argue that we are filters. That's right. And logic is a kind of filtering, and that's what we're doing over time. As we acquire knowledge, knowledge begets knowledge through logical filtration. And it gleans crap out of the philosophy. It negates crap. Brains in a jar theory. And other kinds of UFO mush. Yeah, that's right. Gets thrown out because it doesn't have any correlate in evidence.
No one acts qual reasons for action. In short, to quote William Hasker, the occurrence and content of conscious mental states such as belief and desire are irrelevant to behavior.
Belief and desire are irrelevant to behavior. Why would what, you want me to argue something that's idiotic? Well, no, sorry. That would be idiotic to have to argue that. Obviously, that's like saying you can play the piano without learning how to play the piano. No, I don't think that's true.
Interesting that Inmendham would take no account of autonomy as it is supposedly subsumed in a deterministic universe, while still peddling...
That's not my argument. Autonomy isn't consumed by determinism. We're still individuals. We're individual brains programmed individually. So autonomy has to do with an individualness. I say autonomy is blown up by the fact that selfishness is irrational nonsense. That the only thing that matters is sentience. And that it doesn't matter whether I have a broken leg or you have a broken leg. It doesn't matter what the distribution of the comfort and the discomfort is. It only matters that it exists. So my argument is the slave owner can't win by owning slaves, because the things he's torturing are of equal value to himself, and so he might as well be kicking himself in the nuts. Because if you're going to be a nut kicker, okay, that's all that's going to matter. If you're going to have feet in nuts, then you're going to have, that's all that matters, is the foot in the nuts. It doesn't matter whose nuts it is, and it doesn't matter whose foot's in them. All that matters is that feet and nuts should not be combined. Jackass. And that's why autonomy is irrelevant to this conversation. Okay, that's social contract shit. We're talking about objective value. Why would I think objective value changes based on what pawns are lined up? Objective says the pawns don't matter. It's all the fucking same. One pawn, that pawn, that pawn, that pawn. It doesn't fucking matter. They all have the same properties. It just goddamn fucking can't possibly matter.
Demands for justification and reasons for action, when per his own theory of mind, such demands are as vacuous as demanding a square circle.
Well, again, so you don't even, you know, another lying paraphrase, right? So you put words in my mouth I've never stated, and rationalizations I never made. So you're just such a fucking lying piece of shit, you goddamn pedophile. I mean, it's just disgusting. What do you think you have the right to do that shit? That sloppy paraphrase like that. That's just disgusting. Alright? I mean, really, it's just fucking disgusting. When I say, well, there's no point in going through it all, but I mean, these aren't that complex a concept to understand. the argument I might make is, let's say that there are a certain amount of nuts that are going to get kicked. Well, I would sort of argue that the nuts that should get kicked maybe should be the people who are kicking nuts. That only the people willing to kick nuts, only their nuts should be in the group of nuts that might get kicked. That might be what something's called deserved. So the people who want to open the door to risk should be the people who get the short straws. They should get the worst of the risk. The people who are opening the door to risk the widest should get the worst of the risk. You get it? That would be a deserved scenario. Okay? But it doesn't fix the fundamental problem. It doesn't change the basic dynamic. You're just saying that if something has to be tortured, it should be the assholes who make the torture the most possible. It should be the assholes who made it happen the most. The ones who paid the most money to the fucking mob to make the problem, or however you want to describe it. But yeah, the people who put the most ingredients into the fucking poison pie you're making should be the ones eating the poison pie. You fuck.
If ineptitude were a crime, Inmendham would be thrown into a pit somewhere in the middle of a desert. Even on the subject.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, ineptitude, what? Oh, gee, adding up what? 15 facts. 15 motherfucking facts of life. Yeah, abiogenesis. Let's see, replicating molecule. Natural selection. Gladiator war. Toolkit. Scheming intelligence. Alright? I mean, fuck. Yeah, I can add up those 15 facts and figure out that you assholes are just self-aggrandizing, motherfucking selfish cunts. That's what I can do.
If causal determinism itself, Inmendham is a dismal failure. Now, the strongest merit in argumentation against libertarian free will is that indeterminism is not a sufficient condition of its establishment.
Yeah, whatever. So he's defending some notion of free will, right? Not one shred of evidence of this existence of this nonsense, and now I've got to change the subject to that crap? Again, this isn't about determinism. Objective value conversation has nothing to do with fucking goddamn determinism, shit for brains.
And the charge of conceptual incoherence. But attempting to banish this notion piggybacked on an unestablished metaphysical doctrine is quite silly. Determinism itself is incoherent on a block universe account of space-time.
Alright, so whatever. I don't even know if there's any point in arguing this. He's saying it's incoherent to believe in a material universe and deterministic molecular reaction in the universe. And sorry, I don't. You're just going to say that. There's no fact. There's no evidence. There's no evidence of somebody ever... Put a randomness in a jar. You want me to put value in a jar, the value of suffering. You somehow want me to put it in a jar and prove it to you. And here you are making claims for a random act. For an act that didn't have a cause. An uncaused effect. Well, show me this effect that was uncaused, shithead.
Where time, past, present, and future are all on ontological par. But irrespective of this...
Well, it says you, so he's saying past, present, and future on ontological par. What the fuck does that mean? Oh, there is no past, there is no future, there is no present, there is no time. Let's abolish everything in the universe, especially those 4 billion-year-old Earth rocks, because, yeah, we got to prove Marx was right about that. I mean, I think Marx was brilliant, but if Marx is going to say that all rocks turn into air, I guess he's a fucktard. Unless he's saying, yeah, they do it in about 15 billion years. Well, then I'll agree with him, okay? If he says it happens in about 15 or 20 billion years, well, then I might agree with him. But I guess that wouldn't have much to do with whether or not humans can progress or not, because I guess they have plenty of time to do it if they got 15 billion fucking years to do it before they're going to turn into air.
It's just as the modal or possible world semantic notion of ought can never logically be deduced from is without the presupposition of ought.
Oh, whatever, right. Suffering is shitty. you ought not be causing shit. Yeah, whatever. What? I mean, this is bullshit. All of this bullshit is just a bunch of strangled conversation to evade the simple truth that you're not allowed to do whatever the fuck you want. That you have to account for the shit you harm, you dumb fuck.
Necessitation can never logically be deduced from actual world states of affairs, as constant conjunction does not have, intrinsic to itself, the import of necessitarianism.
Necessitarianism. Who has heard of that? Should somebody look that up? Necessitarianism? Oh, man. Well, you're going to talk about anybody else failing at life, you crazy fuck? You're going to use a word like necessitarianism and talk about other people being fucking lunatic failures? You fucking crazy bastard.
Now, on the issue of moral nihilism, Inmendham thinks that the following is sufficient to establish moral realism or a contradiction of my position. Per said nihilism, I would have to admit that it wouldn't matter if my daughter were raped and murdered. Proving that he doesn't even have a basic understanding of the philosophy of ethics. First, behavior relative to the raping of my daughter, namely my intervention to prevent it, if possible.
Well, that's irrelevant. Whether you can prevent it or not, no, you're just, well, whatever. You're just cheating the argument now. This isn't about your prevention of it.
Possible does not itself have propositional import. And of course it would matter to me, it would matter to my daughter. Mattering is cognition dependent. There is no transphysical or transperspectival realm of mattering.
Oh, let's go listen to that again. That somehow that's not a function of reason. No, come on.
Dependent. There is no transphysical or transperspectival realm of mattering in which normative facts can be injected into the actual world states of affairs. So given error theory, there's no contradiction here, and Inmendham, you fucking suck.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. So he's basically making excuses now to justify the fact that he says it. How have you explained in that nonsense how it would really matter if your daughter was raped? All you're saying is it matters to you and it matters to your daughter, but otherwise it doesn't matter. She can be raped all over the place as long as the rapist, it doesn't matter to them. It's okay. They get to say it's okay, and they're okay, and your objection are equal. So it's if there's 5 of them and 2 of you, you two say it's wrong, they say it's, those 6 of them say it's right, there is no truth that it's wrong, so their 6 is, they win. And it wouldn't even matter. You don't even have to go by democracy. All that matters is the rapist thinks it's okay, and that's all that matters. So it's oh fucking goddamn K. I mean, it's just stupid to say there's no value exchange here. Of nothing of value is being fucking commoditized and changed in our existence. But that's exactly what takes place in our existence. The welfare state of sentient beings is commoditized and exchanged. It's the fucking source of all value in the fucking universe is the welfare of sentient beings. I mean, it's just so fucking obvious. Whatever. But I really wish he had to. I mean, I think, you know, he didn't even fairly respond to what I said, because I think what I said was, let's put your daughter, let's put her welfare at stake. Let's hang her over the volcano and see how true you are to your principle. You know, that you know, she drops if you can honestly swear it doesn't matter. That it only matters to you and to her brain. It's just psychological jackass bullshit. It's just an opinion. There is no truth that it would be bad for her to be burned up in the volcano. It is not necessarily bad that she burns up in the volcano. There's nothing intrinsically, fundamentally negative that took place in the universe if she burns up in that volcano. It only matters as an opinion of yours and hers, And you could honestly say that. So you'd have to be true to that statement. She falls. Let's see if you got the balls to do that. Because I think you know that's a sack of shit bullshit. I think you goddamn know it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what your daughter thinks. You know that her burning flesh will be burning flesh, that the pain will be searing, that it'll shoot through her consciousness, it'll cause her suffering, and it doesn't matter whether she interprets that as a bad thing or you interpret that as a bad thing, it will be a bad thing. Fuck. This is stupid. I mean, I just can't, my level of contempt that I just can't believe it. You know, that this is the level of fucking conversation. I wouldn't expect to have to work this hard to get a fucking 7-year-old to concede that they know it would be bad if something fell into a volcano and burned to death.